Hi there, this is Allison with Let's Go Travel Tips. Today is Tuesday, it's August 9th of 2022, and we've got lots to talk about again. Most of all, some big changes that Princess made to their testing for sailings out of the UK. And I'm going to go through all of these protocols with you so that you are really clear on what is required. But today I wanted to start off really quick with just the news of another landslide in Skagway and what that means to the people there. So Skagway, as we know, has already had, this I think is the third landslide in that same place right next to that dock there where the Royal Class Princess ships have used in the past. Ever since the end of June, they decided that it was not safe to have a ship docked there anymore. Maybe it was more mid-June. But anyway, so the ships have not been calling at that forward dock right there. And we had another landslide, and as I have read about it, I just wanted to share with you the fact that the people in the town there estimate that since June 23rd, there have been at least 35 ships who were scheduled to come to Skagway who were not able to come. And that really creates a huge economic impact in all of Southeast Alaska there, they said. And so I guess I'm telling you this to be mindful that if you get to go to Skagway and you have the opportunity, like take a tour or go shopping or eat something, just something to try to support the people who live there who have had such a miserable year. You know, they missed the 2020 cruise season, they missed most of the 2021 cruise season, and now, boy, in Skagway, the 2022 cruise season has been really rough as well. So I just wanted to make you aware of what's going on with that. They said that it could be anywhere from a third to a half, as half as much. They're going to miss a third to a half of the revenue that they usually earn from cruise ships. Okay. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you about is a couple of things. First of all, I reviewed all of the Holland America protocols, and the way Holland America does theirs, if they have these handy dandy PDFs, I just printed to show you there, that they have on their websites, and they have them for sailings from the UK, sailings from Europe, and sailings from the US and Canada. And I just wanted to let you know that nothing on those have changed. So if any of you who are sailing on Holland America have received any email updates or in any other way, will you please let us know? Let's see, June 14th was the last day that the sailings from Europe was updated, and the same for the US ports and sailings from Alaska and Canada. Sorry, UK ports. But anyway, so I wanted just to let you know that we are not aware of any updates on Holland America. And so the next thing that is really the big deal is what's going on with sailings from the UK. But along with that, I have gotten so many questions lately about the protocols from Canada that they list the protocols from Canada both on the sailings from the UK and the sailings from Europe protocol pages, as well as on the US and Canada. So I just wanted to tell you really quick what they said, and this is the most recent update, which was dated August 8th. So it was just yesterday. It happened late in the afternoon. If you missed my later video yesterday talking about the cancellations on the Diamond Princess, go back and catch that. But I didn't talk about this because I wanted to make sure that I was very familiar with it and didn't miss anything to tell you about. So if you are going to go, it says so for voyages that begin, end, or visit Canada, all three of those, the requirements for cruising are all guests ages 5 and above will require a medically observed COVID-19 test done within 2 days if it's an antigen test and 3 days if it's a PCR test. Children ages 2 to 4 are welcome to cruise and either present proof of vaccination or a PCR test done within 3 days of embarkation plus an antigen test at the terminal. Children under the age of 2 have no vaccination or test requirements. And so minimum age to sail is 6 months or 12 months based on the cruise itinerary. And so I just wanted to let you know that. And then the other big component, if you're sailing to Canada, a voyage that begins and ends or leaves, begins, ends, or visits Canada, it says you have to do Within 72 hours of embarkation, you need to do that ArriveCan app from a computer, or you can download the mobile app, it says, like I showed last night in our live, and I have showed in other videos, and you will receive that ArriveCan app. And it says, please bring a digital copy of the email or print your receipt to bring it with you when you travel. So when I traveled just at the end of June, and I know we're at the beginning of August, so some time has gone by, I printed out my receipt. I did it on my phone, and then I just took a screenshot of the page that had the QR code on it, the digital receipt, and then I emailed it to myself and printed it out so that I would have just in case. I never needed it. And so just right there on your phone, the only time that I really had to do anything with it was that I needed to write the code that I got for when we were returning to Vancouver on a paper that Holland America gave one to everyone on the ship, and you had to fill in that code that comes on the QR code, the number, and turn it in. That was the only time I had to do anything with it. So, but I will add that when you fly into Vancouver, they can see when you arrive, it is hooked to your passport, so they know that you've done it. So let me add that. So if you have any questions about that, put it down below. Now let's go ahead and get started. These are the biggest changes that we have heard from Princess Cruise Lines since the CDC did away with their cruise ship program. We have heard from other cruise lines, as you know, the change in testing. Well, I think the door is opening just a little bit for a change in testing on Princess. I'm wondering if they're going to just see how it goes and then make changes from there. So effective with these changes here on August 8th of 2022, it says, unless otherwise communicated, all guests ages 5 and older must take a COVID-19 test, and it can be a PCR or an antigen within 3 days prior to embarkation on the ship. This can be done at any time in the 3 days before embarkation. Guests no longer need to provide a test certificate. However, they will be asked to confirm that the test has been taken with a negative result as part of the pre-boarding health declaration at the cruise terminal. Guests under 5 years of age are exempt from pre-cruise testing. So that changes everything. You no longer have to have that proctored test. They are simply going to ask you at embarkation if you have done the test and if it was negative. You'll just have to attest. Now, I will remind you that ever since cruising restarted in Australia, that is how they've done it. It is just simply on the honor system. And so I think it does not list any requirements for, like, if you can use a test you got from the government or from Walgreens, or if you EMED anywhere. I think as long as it is a COVID test, the PCR or the antigen, you can do it. I don't think you could do the PCR maybe on your own. But if you've got an antigen test, you can do it on your own, or of course you can still go somewhere and have them do the COVID test as part of it if you want to. But it really makes it really easy for people who are traveling now to just take a little test with them and then just do it in their hotel within 3 days or at home before they leave and see that they're negative. So I think that's a step forward. Also, they do talk about exemptions, and so they say that exemptions are available on a first-come, first-served basis. Children under 12 years old are not required to apply for an exemption, but still must follow other requirements for unvaccinated guests. And so if children who are under 12 who are vaccinated, they can show proof of vaccination, and then they don't have to follow those unvaccinated protocols. But if you've got children under the age of 12, you don't have to ask for an exemption anymore. So be aware of that. I think that'll make things easier. And then it says that you do have to bring with you, if you are vaccinated, if you have not asked for an exemption, you need to bring with you the original proof of a vaccine card, which means a vaccination card that clearly shows the guest's name, that matches their photo ID, the dates the vaccine doses were given, and the facility where that vaccination was administered. They also, on these sailings from the UK, point out that if you are a resident there in the UK, you can't just have the piece of paper or the card that they gave you when you received it. There they have the record in the National Health Service system, and you have to get that record. Okay, so make sure you remember that. Here in the US, we don't have that, and so we just have the card that shows. And so I just wanted to make sure that everyone knows that. Let's see what's next here really quick. Let's see. They also have the reminder that you need to do that health questionnaire no later than 24 hours before you embark the ship. You do that on the Medallion Class app, and it says you will be asked to confirm your answers at the port. And when I read that, I thought, oh, that's what they were doing to us in Barcelona. Sorry, nope, in Rome. When we boarded the ship in Rome, they asked us, we had done it, and it was in our app, and then she asked us all of the questions again. And so it probably, they were doing it a little bit sooner before they said it here, but that is what they need here, and they remind everyone they will keep your privacy doing that. And then also they talk about boosters to be considered fully vaccinated on these cruises. If you are eligible for a vaccine, and their requirement there is if it's been more than 9 months or 270 days since you received your vaccine dose, you need to have a booster, and you can receive that right up until the day you sail. The only reason that I think is important with that is they include the reminder that vaccine requirements for different ports can change at any time. And so if you are up to date with your vaccines, then you don't have to worry. But I have not heard of anywhere this whole summer of anybody saying that they were turned away at a port because they didn't have a booster. If that happened to you, I would really appreciate hearing it. Nobody shared that with me. I haven't used it. I have not heard it on any of the other channels, and I listened to several others of people who cruise, and so hopefully that's not really happening much. The other update with this, and it's got some new wording here, so make sure you're familiar with it if you're booking a back-to-back cruise or a longer cruise. It says guests ages 5 and above on their back-to-back sailings will need to take a complimentary rapid antigen test within 2 days of their second cruise if that sailing includes a trans-ocean voyage or a full Panama Canal transit, or the itinerary is more than 10 days. So guests who test positive for COVID-19 will not be able to sail on the next voyages, nor will their family members and close contacts who are not fully vaccinated. If you have family members, travel companions, or other close contacts, and they are suspected of having COVID-19, you are entitled to a 100% future cruise credit. So make sure that if that doesn't show up in your account, you call and ask for it, okay? Now, we've got the updates on the sailings from Europe. So I found it really interesting here in these protocols for sailings from the UK that they mentioned that these protocols apply to all sailings from the UK and the EU, except for sailings from the US, Canada, and Greece. And so they do not apply to sailings from the EU because they had those sailings updated yesterday. Cruise Health FAQ for Europe was updated yesterday, August 8th as well, and they are still requiring your COVID test to be proctored. And so let me tell you here everything it says. It says vaccinated guests must have received their final dose of the COVID-19 vaccine at least 14 days before they cruise. Boosters are highly recommended for those who are eligible. At terminal check-in, guests must provide proof of a negative viral COVID test taken before embarkation. We also welcome unvaccinated guests with specific protocols outlined below. And so they go on to say that Princess does continue to operate highly vaccinated cruises. They don't say what percent. And it says, in addition, where local guidelines allow, we are managing the exemption process for guests 12 and older that support medical, religious, or other guest considerations. Children under 5 may be booked and are not required to take a pre-cruise COVID-19 test. Children ages 5 to 11 can sail if they are fully vaccinated or show proof of a negative PCR test within 3 days of embarkation at the terminal before boarding. So that is the first that I think we are hearing from Princess of the relaxing of the vaccine requirement a little bit. So children who are ages 5 to 11 sailing from Europe can either show a negative COVID test done within 3 days, or they can show proof of vaccination. And then it moves on here to say, let me find it here. Here we are. Based on current European Union Healthy Gateways guidelines to board the ship, all guests aged 5 years and above will require a medically observed negative viral COVID test, either a PCR or an antigen, taken within 3 days of embarkation. So choose what kind of test you're taking, and you get 3 days to do it. If you are unvaccinated and they require a PCR test, then you have to do it within 3 days. Now, the big difference, though, is sailings from Greece. They're in Europe, and they have changed that protocol. So here's what it says. It says the Greek government requires guests to take a PCR test within 3 days of embarkation or an antigen test within 2 days of embarkation. The test must be conducted in person by medical personnel, and guests will need a physical letter with negative results. Test results proctored by video are not accepted. So make sure that you've got that. They say that if you are there and you cannot find a place to be tested, for fully vaccinated guests, they will be able to provide a limited number of antigen tests that meet the requirements at or near the terminal, and the cost will be $60 per person. So I just wanted to make sure that you knew that. It says all guests ages 12 and above that have been approved for a vaccine exemption, as well as unvaccinated children ages 5 to 11, will need an embarkation day COVID-19 test performed at the terminal, in addition to the pre-cruise PCR test that you're going to be receiving. So basically, if you're vaccinated, you have got to get your test done in person. Whether you're able to have that 2-day window before you fly from home and you get it done at a lab here and take that paper result with you, or you're going to have to do it once you're in Athens and have it done in person with a paper showing the results. So I know that several people have told me that the hotels that they stayed at there in Athens can tell them where to go to get a COVID test. So if it were me and I were departing out of there soon, I'd call the hotel that I was going to be staying at, and I would ask if they know testing locations that they can send me to. Or I would have it done at the airport, right there at the Athens airport, before I ever left the airport, so that you'd have those test results. Those are what I think your two best options are. I looked at the Athens airport website, and they still have COVID testing there. And so I think that's a really great resource if you're going to be flying in and you're not going to be able to do the test before you leave home. But really, that's so important. Keep it in mind. And I am sure that if you arrive at the port and somehow you've done it wrong, they'll do it again, and you'll have to just pay the $60. Sorry about that, but I think it's a really important thing to know. And then let's see, the last thing I wanted to make sure you know is their protocols for back-to-back sailings are the same as they are for sailings from the UK. They say that guests ages 5 and above on back-to-back voyages will need to take a complimentary rapid antigen test within 2 days of the following voyage, where the following voyage includes a transocean voyage or a full Panama Canal transit, and the itinerary is 10 days or more. So just keep that in mind. And once again, if you test positive, if you have any family members or close contacts who are not fully vaccinated, they won't be able to go on the next sailing either, but you'll all get future cruise credits. Okay, I hope that helps some of you. I just wanted to let you know all about that. If you've got questions, don't hesitate to let me know. I hope it helps those of you who are going to be sailing from Europe and the UK. They still don't have any updates to sailings from the US, and right now it's just afternoon Mountain Standard Time. Okay, but I'll keep my eye on it all afternoon. So the other update that we have had is on MSC. MSC made some changes similar to what Carnival and Royal Caribbean have done, making it so that if you're vaccinated, you do not have to have a COVID test. Let me get the exact wording here so that I don't say it wrong. For if you are in sailings 5 nights or less from U.S. ports, COVID testing within 3 days is recommended but not required if you're fully vaccinated. For fully vaccinated guests on sailings that are 6 nights or longer, you've got to show the COVID test just like you always have. They're going to let you have 3 days to do that antigen test, and so or the PCR test, whichever one you want. They have that, and then for unvaccinated guests, you're just going to have to go ahead and do the COVID test. It says MSC recommends unvaccinated guests to test within 1 day of departure when possible. These guests may undergo additional COVID-19 testing at the terminal prior to embarkation, free of charge. The only exception is that no pre-embarkation testing for guests under 2 years of age will be required. And then finally, they are keeping all of their vaccination requirements in place for everyone, and these are not going to take effect though until August 28th. They had initially, when MSC announced it, they were going to go into effect earlier here in August, and they have just moved it back until August 28th. So if you've got a sailing on August 28th or later, there are your protocols. I still think the most exciting one of all was Norwegian yesterday, when they basically said that starting September 3rd, you're going to either show your proof of vaccine to get on the ship, or you're going to show a negative COVID test. And so I think that they are the ones that have taken the biggest step forward to changing their requirements. But maybe if things go smoothly for them, the other cruise lines will follow suit. We'll just have to wait and see. I would really like to hear from all of you. Let me know what you think about these changes. Let me know what you think is coming soon. I know on our lives, if you come to those, we, like every week, we kind of talk about like, when is the testing going to go away, really? And we've got some guesses on the fall, and so I'd like to know when you think the testing is going to go away. I kind of wonder if it's going to come and go, just with how many COVID cases come and go. If testing will come and go, let me know what you think about that as well. And I really appreciate all of you being here. If you haven't subscribed yet, this would be a great time to subscribe. And while you're hitting that subscribe button, just hit that little notification bell there so that you don't miss any updates, because we'd love to have you with us. If you appreciate these updates, would you also please give this video a thumbs up, because that really does help us. I'll be talking to you all again really soon. You all take really good care. God bless you. Love you. Bye-bye.